Just a few months ago, I did an episode on this guitar, and when I pulled out this knob and went like this, it confused a lot of people and made just as many people angry. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm defending the Gibson Dark Fire limited edition robot guitar. Before I get into anything really about this guitar, I should probably preface this with a little bit of history about this guitar. This is the 2007 Gibson limited edition robot guitar. This guitar was marketed as being the greatest guitar innovation in the last 70 years. And the way it was marketed was, you don't need those 100 guitars anymore. All you need is this, which is kind of confusing. Because the idea of this guitar was that it can tune itself. Is it done? That it can tune itself. And that you wouldn't need your roadie anymore as a professional musician. And that if you need to do 100 guitar changes in a set, fret not, pun intended, you got this crazy robot guitar. These tuning heads are the goofiest looking things. From the front, this is a beautiful Les Paul. But then from the back, this just looks like I'm wearing training wheels. Who is this even marketed to? This is supposed to be for professional musicians who want to fire their roadie? I couldn't imagine Kirk Hammett playing with Metallica and being like, oh cool, put this to E flat. And I'm just like, okay, cool. In front of like, how many people did Metallica play in front of? 30,000 a night? 40,000, 50,000? Kirk Hammett could have like literally messed up Nothing Else Matters and started again and then played the solo to Fade to Black in the time that this thing. Is it still going? Let's just get it back to normal tuning, okay? If I push it back in, will it now work? Oh, it's in tune. Now, in the defense of this guitar, I'm pretty sure you can recalibrate it and have it go faster, but this thing is the worst. Like, who else? People that can't tune? And I can tell you, I could have taught somebody how to tune and had them tune incorrectly 3 times in the period of time it took me to tune that guitar. Great idea in concept, terrible follow through. I am blown away by how great this guitar is when it works, and we're about to get into all of that. I got a lot of comments. I'm talking thousands about this guitar. So we've become too lazy to tune a guitar before you play. First off, it's TOO. Ugh. You want me to not take you seriously? Spell things wrong or use improper grammar, okay? Call me what you will. You don't know 2 versus 2? You're a dum-dum. Not being able to tune your guitar is like not knowing where the gas cap is on your car. Change your own oil, tune your guitar yourself. I'm gonna show you something right now. C, I'm gonna walk over to my piano, C, C, C. I can tune my guitar without any help of a tuner, of a pitchfork, of a piano. I have next to perfect pitch. That's the only time that that argument makes any sense to me at all. You have perfect pitch, so you can tune a guitar without the help of anything else, like a robot. Like a tuner you plug into, a snark you put onto the headstock. Did you know that only 0.01% of the population has perfect pitch? That's 1 in 10,000, kids. That's my twin brother, Brian. He could go and you could take on one of those crystal glasses and he'd be like, that's a B4, but it's a quarter of a tone flat. Almost everybody that I know tunes with a tuner. What's the difference? It's like saying, instead of using my speed dial where I hold down 1 and it calls 867-5309 and I get Jenny, I want to take that away. That maybe if I only hold down 1, I'll forget how to dial 867-5309. Maybe if everyone's on a speed dial, I won't remember any of their numbers to call them. We use robots for everything. We use automation for everything. Your iWatch is telling you when you're supposed to drink water, but you don't want me to tune my guitar automatically? Why would you not want to make it easier? I also have the temerity to draw a differentiation between auto-tuning your guitar and auto-tune. there was a ton of comments about, oh yeah, auto-tune's been the death of music. This is not the same auto-tune, bro. Auto-tune is if I sang like, born to be wild, and I turned into born to be wild, and made something out of nothing. That's not real. It's not real. I'm changing something that's not real. All this is doing is making sure that I'm playing in the first place in tune. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna play in tune. Doesn't mean that anything I'm doing is good. It's not making me any better. It's just leveling the playing field so that I can play perfectly mediocre in tune. Tons of different people saying, no one ever asked for this. Gibson, we didn't ask for this. Yes, we did. If people could say, like, what would be the greatest thing you could ever do for a guitar? I don't have to tune it. It stays in tune all the time. Now, I understand the idea of the Terminator or the Ghost in the Machine tuning your guitar seems kind of scary. But the truth is, when I got this guitar in 2008, it was amazing. I used this for gig after gig after gig. My buddy Scott called me and said, hey man, have you seen these new robot guitars that everyone seems to be saying that don't do very well? Yeah, this isn't it. This is the Darkfire. It's way better. And I went and saw some videos on it, and I saw it tuned, and I said, oh, wow. So wait, I don't have to sit there 34 times in the middle of a tune while I'm tracking and tune this thing. I can just go out and just go. And as long as it goes to the blue like that, I know I'm in tune. Most guitar players that I work with in my recording studio don't have perfect pitch or even close to perfect pitch. And there's plenty of times where I stop people. Redo that take, check your tuning, check your tuning, check your tuning. Because when you're recording an album, if you're out of tune, it's forever. And there are plenty of records where things have made it to the record with being out of tune. But as a producer, you try to stop that stuff. So the idea that I could be in the middle of band practice and just go like, and it's in tune. And by the way, my drummer's wailing on the set doing double bass while my bass player's slapping like a crazy person because he loves Flea, and my singer's sitting there going over the microphone as I'm tuning. And I don't need to hear myself. I don't need to worry about the vibrations. Have you ever tried using a snark while you're in band practice playing gent metal? It doesn't work all the time because if your bass player's hitting that low B, it won't tune itself. It just goes crazy because it only works off vibrations. Just science. The way it should have been marketed in my mind is for the studio person. You can go to 18 different tunings at any given time with this guitar. The Les Paul Darkfire electric guitar combines upgraded Les Paul form with computer age functionality. Analog or digital, the Gibson Darkfire electric guitars gives you an infinite number of tonal possibilities to let you change the tone of the Darkfire to match your environment. And it begins with the guitar's most basic elements, the pickups. The Gibson Darkfire combines two of Gibson's most popular pickups, the P90H in the neck position and a Burstbucker 3 in the bridge position. Both are capped with carbon fiber-like pickup covers, impeccably designed to match the Darkfire's advanced fade. Each individual saddle here is its own pickup. This bridge is mounted directly through the body and gives you pretty incredible sustain. You have a volume on the actual selector that controls the volume of your piezo pickup and your ability to blend the magnetic pickups with the piezo pickup. This is the Teflon frictionless nut that I have to say, it works just as advertised. And what a beautiful face to this guitar with this flower pot logo right here, which was first debuted in 1911, kind of giving this thing a almost classy look to it. In fact, a very classy look. And this is number 18 of 1,000 made before they continue to make it in typical Henry style from that era of Gibson. The Darkfire is definitely way smaller and better looking on the back of the headstock. Definitely an improvement over whatever 6-month period between the robot guitar and the Darkfire. Something really cool about this guitar is it came with this breakout box, which as you can see says acoustic out and amplifier out. And the idea would be that you could play acoustic to one amp and you can play your electromagnetic pickups to another amp, so that if you want to be going back and forth from acoustic tones to electric tones in the middle of a show, you know, you're playing Mama I'm Coming Home acoustically and then you want to go into the ripping solo, you can do that and send it out to 2 separate amps because this has a stereo output. In fact, not only does it have a stereo output, but this output locks, which is great in some respects because, you know, you're not going to pull it out. But also, when I do try to pull it out, when I'm baked doing these videos, I start to pull it out and I remember that, oh yeah, it's locked. So when I bought this guitar, I absolutely loved it. I loved the idea that I could go to 18 different tunings at the drop of a hat, that in between songs, I could tune and always make sure I was in tune. I could actually program my own tunings in here. I used to play in drop C. This doesn't have drop C. I was able to actually program this thing to do drop C. It was wild. So I have zero problem with the concept where people are saying over and over, did anyone ask for these things? Did anyone want this? Yeah, I love the idea of being able to play acoustic to one amp and electric to another amp and having a stereo output. I love the idea that I can tune to all these different tunings without having to hear it, without having to do anything other than to strum and just look to see if this thing's fine. I love all of that. People are getting mad for the wrong reason. You want to know why this guitar sucked? Because when it stops working, it's dumb. It's stupid. They say you could manually tune these power heads. You're gonna strip them. You can only turn them one way. When I was in the middle of my gig and all of a sudden, I think it was the G string just stopped working, I had to stop my gig. I had no backup guitar and I had to go ask the band before us if they had like his Fender Squire and if I could basically tune in front of a crowd because my fancy schmancy Les Paul Darkfire, the G string stopped working. And because I'm in the middle of a gig and I didn't want to strip the tuner, I just threw it to the side of the stage and said, screw this thing, I'm walking away. So after that night, I knew that this hardware was not reliable, which is actually the biggest issue with this guitar. It's not conceptually, it tunes itself. That's great. It's not the fact that it wasn't capable of doing it. It's in tune. It's the fact that it has such a high rate of failure on this Tronical hardware that no one was willing to endorse this guitar. When I first called Gibson to have it fixed, the guy on the phone was super friendly. He's like, oh yeah, when we went to NAMM, we had a few of them go funky, and we're like, oh, it was like an Exorcist moment. Their heads were turning around the wrong way. That's not comforting. And over the course of 3 or 4 years, I sent this back and forth to Gibson 16 times, 8 times each way. And the last time I did, I remember opening it up. One of the power heads that was supposed to be replaced didn't turn. Are you kidding me? I waited weeks for this guitar to come back from Gibson. I waited. And I opened it up and it was bad out of the case. And that's when I called Gibson and I said, what gives? And they sent me a different guitar. The previous phone call, they told me there was only one guy at Gibson that was capable of fixing this guitar. And I said, what happens if that guy quits? What happens if he dies accidentally? I mean, that would be tragic. But what am I gonna do? And clearly Gibson had encountered some of this and they said, you know what? Would you like another guitar? Me? Yeah, me and the Gibson dude picked out this, the Les Paul Allwood, which came out in 2013. How many times do you have to be burned? You're in a relationship and you love that girl, but then she like hooks up with your friend and she's like, I'm sorry, I love you, you're my everything. And you get back together. Then she hooks up with your other friend and you're like, I have the wrong friends. And I knew that I didn't want that guitar anymore, which is why Gibson kindly sent me this guitar, which during the time, almost everything from Gibson had robot tuners because Henry, who was running Gibson at the time, had his fingers multiple knuckles deep into the company Tronical. So he thought, you know what? I'm gonna double dip. I'm gonna make money off Gibson and off my side hustle, these stupid robot tuners. So he decided, I'm gonna put them on everything. This guitar in 2013, when all these terrible guitars were coming out, beautiful guitars, excuse me, with these dumb tuners, this guitar was all wood. Classic, beautiful. So for years I shunned that guitar. And finally, I decided I was gonna do an episode on this guitar because enough people had talked about it. And when I got it again, I remembered why I love it. This neck is so wonderful. The satin finish on the back of it, the ebony fretboard, it plays beautifully. It sounds incredible. This is a Burstbucker 3. It's basically a PAF clone and a P90H, which for those that don't know, it gets rid of the 60 cycle hum that you get with a lot of single coil pickups. They still have a little bit of a hum, but well, let's tune this first off. great sounding guitar. It plays great. It looks great. It's barely 8 pounds. It's super light. It's beautiful. I love the flame on it. You've carbon fiber inlays on the neck. This showed up at my door. I opened up the case, the beautiful white case it came in, and I missed it. And as soon as I plugged it in, the battery didn't work. And it reminded me why we broke up in the first place. But I said, I'm gonna do what I need to do to get back with this guitar and make these videos for you. The battery that originally came in this guitar is no longer available. And the only option, according to Tronical, the company that made all these electronics, was that you can buy a new battery. You have to move some things around inside this cavity and then take the battery out to charge it. I said, nah, that's above my pay grade. I don't wanna do that. So I looked for a battery online, and as you can see, this is 7.4 volts, 850 milliamps, which is damn close to what the original battery was. Now this battery could be used for an RC car. A lot of people are using them for drones. And as you can see, it has 2 terminals on it. Right here is called the balance port. And this is the main discharge lead, because this is a lithium ion battery. This is actually how it's supposed to discharge, this bigger head. And this is how it charges, because lithium ion batteries are basically like multiple batteries almost like grouped together into cells. I had to cut off the main discharge lead. So the way that this was designed from Gibson was they used a balance port and a discharge lead as one cable. So basically all the power is going in and out of this little itty bitty head. So what I did with my buddy Kevin, and when I say what I did is Kevin and I talked this through. Kevin basically hot wired this to one of these batteries, and then when I went to charge it again, it killed an entire cell and I wasn't able to do it. So I realized that the best thing to do would be to make this connection. This is the lead that came with the Gibson. This is the lead that you'll find on almost any battery on Amazon.com. Kevin connected these both for me. Instead of having to constantly hotwire a battery into this and hope I don't blow things up, and yes, they are live and you can shock the crap out of yourself. Believe me, I've learned. I can plug this into here. And now I can buy any battery off the internet, plug it into this connection, and this connection plugs right into my Darkfire. Now I could throw this back in here. It plugs directly in. I can take it out, charge it, and put it back in. All of you out there that have dead Darkfires, you can fix them with a drone battery. Now mind you, this gives you 500 tunings per battery charge. And the way that you can find out how much juice you got left, you see this? This is called the master control knob. Everything is through here. I can hold that down. And you see that? Full battery life. So if I want to go to Delta Blues, I can press G. Push that down, and then watch. Pretty amazing. And if you're not used to jamming in slide tuning, which I'm not, it does it for me. It's not that I'm too stupid to know the tuning. It's not that I can't look it up. It's because it goes to it in seconds. Why on earth would I want to type 911 when I can just press the little on my grandma's phone when she's fallen and can't get up? One of the other things that people said is, well, if this guitar tunes itself to all these different tunings, how accurate is it? And it's not going to intonate itself, is it? I want to do a little test with you guys. So this is in Delta Blues, right? Perfectly in tune. I'm going to go to the 12th fret for each one. That's perfectly intonated. You can go into an intonation mode on this guitar and it will tell you how many half turns you need to adjust this bridge for it to be perfectly intonated. And once it's intonated, pretty much any tuning you go to is perfect from my experience. A lot of people complain about string gauge, you're gonna be snapping things. The only times I've snapped strings on this guitar is when I'm doing tuning up mode. You can absolutely snap a string. Other than that, I have never snapped a string on this guitar. But I put 9s on it so that I can go into these low tunings. I want to see, is it still intonated using these floppy, poopy strings that are not meant to go to, let's say, drop B. What I'm using right now is the master control knob. One of the reasons that this is absolutely not successful is the fact that you have to do everything that you would normally do on your iPhone or on your Galaxy on this thing. So instead of just typing on your phone, you have to go through a maze of different things on this. So if I want to go to drop E flat like Metallica, I have to turn this till I get to this little bank thing, right? Push down. Right now it's in the blue bank. That puts it in the green bank. Push it down again lightly. Now I'm in the red bank. Now if I go, now it goes to drop E flat. And I can just go like this. It sounds perfect to me. So now I'm in drop E flat and I want to show you guys, did it stay intonated? Is it in tune? Now for those that don't know, D sharp is E flat. So no trolls, please. Now let's go up the octave. Perfectly intonated in drop E flat. So one of the biggest issues is just figuring out how to actually do things. So I gotta turn this all the way to here, depress it from the blue bank to the green bank to the red bank to G if I want it to go to C standard. So let's go to C. I got nines on this guitar. That sounds pretty amazing considering how floppy these strings are. But you're asking, can it still stay intonated? Well, let's look. Perfect C. Now let's C up an octave. This guitar is perfectly intonated in C standard with nines on it. No strings broke, the nut's perfect, the action's great. Even with my wobbly strings, if I play with some finesse, it's perfectly in tune. So the idea was you can go from 18 different tunings, and not only could you use different tunings, but with each tuning, you could do a different pickup selection. You can make it go to C standard and have it every single time go to the piezo pickup. You can have it go to D flat standard and have it go to a little bit of the piezo pickup and a little bit of the neck pickup and program it into this guitar. All these advanced functions that I'm not even getting into today. Let's tune it back to standard, huh? Oh, that's fun. Take this silly snark off now, huh? And now we're in the piezo pickup. And it, see that? Isn't that amazing? Sounds amazing. And with that breakout box, you could send just that signal to one amp while you get the other. And if you only had one amp, you can blend them with this little crazy toggle. The concepts are amazing. The idea that it could tune itself, be an acoustic guitar, have all these different sounds that you can get with all these pickups, because these pickups are wired separately for each coil. So you can actually match the piezo pickup with each coil individually in or out of phase. The irony is this piece broke, and when I put this new switch in, it gives me the volume for the piezo, but apparently I didn't plug in the right wire for the magnetic pickups, so the chameleon tones don't even exactly work on this thing, which proves my point. Amazing conceptually, but unreliable technology. If this was available today, and I could be like, oh, I want to go to drop B tuning, boom, and this thing tuned itself to that, and then let's say, I want it to sound like a Stratocaster. And you have a parametric EQ on here, by the way. If this was all on my phone, all of this crazy stuff that's in this stupid master control knob that you have to push down for 3 seconds, then 5 seconds, and lift back up, then initiate, engage, that would be rad. I have to push this, engage it, turn left, right, up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start, and then I'll get 40 lives in Contra. I don't even know how to get back to standard tuning. If I could just go on my phone and do all these things that this thing does, I'd be so excited. Playing in 18 different tunings. That can expand your mind as far as your ability to write songs. And it's not about, do you remember the tunings, or can you tune it yourself, or how good your ear is. It's a matter of practicality and ease of use. The fact that you can just pull this out and get there in seconds. It's amazing. Problem was that this came out in 2008, and you have to do every single thing through this little master control knob. And you have to have the memory of a freaking elephant to be able to know how to do everything on this guitar at the drop of a hat. But when it works, it is an awesome playing, awesome sounding, and very accurately tuning instrument. And when it doesn't work, well, I hate robot guitars too. Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?